Look at all these faces. Oh my goodness, what a night. And thank you for being with us here at the historic Fox Theater. Mick and I are excited to be your hosts tonight, hearing stories from some of the greatest players in franchise history.
When the team first talked to us about being involved with this event, my mind went to a specific place called the Hockey Hot Stove. Back in the day when I was growing up in Peterborough, and of course where is it? Right there. We had to put one together. We don't have fedoras, but
well, you do.
Or cigars.
You can put that on right there.
But anyway, over the years, we all get together and talk hockey, and that's what it's all about.
Are you all ready to dive in and welcome our first act to the stage?
Building themselves a hockey dynasty in the early 1950s. Oh, shoots! He scores! He's got it! Number 5, 25. Sends Gordie Howe into the ranks of immortality. Blue line chance. Steve Eisenman! Nick Lidstrom, power play goal!
Backhand play. Oh, I'm gonna fade! And the Detroit Red Wings are the Stanley Cup champions.
Everyone on this stage played a massive part in building and maintaining one of the most incredible stretches for any team in professional sports, making the Stanley Cup playoffs in 25 straight seasons. Bridging 2 generations. No NHL team was better offensively, second fewest goals allowed, and none won games at a higher pace. We may never see anything like that again. So I'm going to start here, and Steve, will go to you. There are no bigger fans of this franchise than the Illich family, and their impact on this franchise in history has been well known. But you handing the cup to Mr. I in that moment, and it was 14 years for you, what did it mean to you?
Well, again, I came to the organization in '83. Jimmy D was the manager at the time, and he said our goal here is to win 5 Stanley Cups. And it took us a while. I was in my 14th year in the league. We're all witnessed some of the some of the good teams that lost in the first round and whatnot, and they stuck by the entire organization. They stuck by all of us as players, and to finally be able to fulfill that goal that we all had to get that first one, and skating by the bench, we hadn't done this before, so you're just kind of winging it, and you see the entire Illich family on the bench there, and Mr. I, and be able to hand him the Stanley Cup was a great relief, but very, very gratifying as well.
Well, that moment was very special. Back in '97, took the Wings 40-some years to win Stanley Cup again and bring the Stanley Cup back to the state of Detroit. And Mr. and Mrs. Illich was so important of our success, being such a competitive family, doing whatever they could to put a competitive team together, along with Jimmy DeVillano and Ken Holland. And, for them to show that they wanted to win so bad, which helped us in a way to win for them. So what a great run we had back in the 90s there.
And through that run, Kenny, you had to deal with Mr. I on contracts through those 25 years, playoffs, and what you had to do to make pieces fit. How difficult was it? Or was it easier with Mr. I than you had to answer to Mrs. I, right?
Yeah, we sure did. The rebirth of the Red Wings started when Mr. and Miss Illich bought the team in 1982. They're the best owners in pro sports. I've said that all along. As Steve said, they're at every game through all those years. In the playoffs, they'd have a plane and they'd come out, watch us on the road. They were there for every game, supported the players. And then as a manager, never heard the word no. I mean, it was always whatever it took to win. It starts with Mr. and Mrs. Illich, this run from the mid-'80s through today. Their passion. They were season ticket holders prior to that. They loved the team. They loved the game. They loved the city. And they're a massive part of why there was a lot of success here.
And Henrik, you knew what you were stepping into coming the 02-03 season and on the heels of a cup. What did this mean in the Red Wing tradition when you came over? And obviously, being a Swede, you knew all about the Red Wings.
When I came in my first year, that roster was unbelievable. Just to have the chance to play with them and learn from them, and sitting next to Stevie my first year, I spoke when I got spoken to. I didn't say much in that corner, Stevie, but it's something, you know, for me going through. Drafted in the 7th round. You don't choose your team. You get, you know, the team chooses you, and be able to stay here for my whole career, and you know, lucky enough to win a cup, and you know, coming back for this week and see all the guys that I haven't seen for so many years. It's awesome.
Beautiful. Chris, when you were playing ball hockey with Kenny Holland, he said, if you're there in the 3rd round, I'm going to take you. And sure enough, he did. And then the early 90s maybe didn't go as well as you had hoped. You had some rough moments, but it's amazing how you persevered. And then Vernie, who couldn't be here tonight, Mike Vernon, Cup winner, 97. And then you take over 97, 98. How much pressure were you feeling then?
Well, for me, to go in 98, there was a lot of pressure. There was tons. Vernie had left. Kenny believed in me. Vernie won the Conn Smythe the year before. He was outstanding, especially against Colorado and in the finals. So there was a lot of pressure, but I had insulation. And that's what the Red Wings have always been about, leadership and people taking care of each other, and pushed me through that. And there was a lot of times, ups and downs. You know, you have to regroup, and I had these guys around me really pushing me forward. And they wouldn't always say it, but I felt their confidence, and it really helped me a ton.
You did great.
Kenny, we couldn't get it. We were just talking.
Yeah.
Ken, Steve and I were just talking. When he was playing on the team, we couldn't get a word out of him. Now we can't get him to stop talking.
I'm going to turn to a man who couldn't be here tonight, Scotty Bowman.
Oh, boy.
Steve, the story of your first cup year, and with Colorado, coming back home for Game 6, I believe, and traded 6-0 win-loss with Colorado. Scotty Bowman, tell us what he meant to the team in that pregame and to you.
Well, we were, you know, Colorado obviously was a really good team, and we're trying to get over the hump. They had won the Cup the year before, and he delivered what I consider one of the all-time great speeches, and this wasn't in a movie. This was real. And he wasn't a big speech guy, wasn't a big motivator. His motivation was, you're sitting on the bench if you don't play better. That's the way he coached a team, or you're in the stands. So anyway, he just talked about, guys, this is a moment, and you will rue the day if you don't perform tonight. If you don't go out and play your best, you will rue the day. And every sentence ended with, you will rue the day. And we went out, and we won 3-1, I think it was. Shanny got an empty netter. I thought it was the best game we ever played as a team. It was one of the greatest speeches I ever heard. And the following season in Washington, he delivered another one. And you know, it was after the limousine accident in '97 in June, and Vladdy was at the game, and he said before Game 4, he's like, guys, like, this is nothing. Okay, this is just another hockey game. What's really important in life? And he was referring to Vladdy and whatnot, and it just put everything in perspective, because even though you're up in a series 3-0, it's incredible how nervous you all are. And he just relaxed it. He put everything in perspective, and we went out, and again, we played a tremendous game and won. So he just had an incredible knack or experience of knowing what buttons to push, knowing what to say, and just, you know, it's totally unpredictable. And when you thought he was going to lay down the hammer, he was compassionate. And when you thought things were going good and you're on a good path, he hit you over the head with a hammer. He kept you on your toes.
Well, one for each you do. Nick, we'll go to you. Do you have a favorite Scotty memory? Or
No, the one that I remember probably maybe one of the most fun stories when the game's going on, and you know, we're all watching, everyone's watching the puck except Scotty. He's watching up over there somewhere, and the play's going on. I think you went over to either Dave Lewis or Barry Smith, and is asking, Barry, who the F is sitting in my seats? Barry, who's up there in my seats? And Barry's like, what are you talking about? The game's going on here. It's like, those aren't my people. Who's up there in my seats? That's one of Scotty's stories where he's focusing on something completely different when the game's going on.
Well, thank you all for the wonderful words, and most of all, I guess all of you thank you very much for the cups.
History of Hockeytown, celebrating the legacy that built the winged wheel. The NHL truly became an international league in the 1990s thanks to 5 men who changed hockey forever. By the 1995-96 season, the Detroit Red Wings had assembled a group of USSR-born stars: Sergei Fedorov, Slava Kozlov, Slava Fetisov, Vladimir Konstantinov, and Igor Larionov. Together, they became known as the Russian Five. Their first game as a unit came on October 27, 1995, a 3-0 shutout victory over Calgary. Kozlov and Larionov scored for Detroit. Fedorov tallied 2 assists, and every member left their signature on the score sheet, literally. But their impact went far beyond one game. They played a different kind of hockey: graceful, creative, unselfish. They didn't just play the game, they redefined it. Their chemistry powered Detroit to a Stanley Cup in 1997 and fueled the Believe run that brought it home again in 1998. 5 players, 1 city, 1 legacy. The Russian Five, forged in Detroit.
No, hang on 1 second. 1 second. These 2 guys, Barry Smith and Dave Lewis, were in the middle of all this stuff with Bowman and the Russian Five and the great teams in the Stanley Cup. So please say hi to Barry back in town and Dave Lewis, who lives here, lifetime coaches in the NHL. And in case you don't know this guy, look what he's got on. He went and bought this today. 11 Stanley Cups out of the theme store. Oh, way to go, Sergei. And we'll talk a little bit more about what's coming up with number 91, but I will start with that. Why not? You got a phone call not long ago, and we're told that your jersey is going to be retired in the rafters. Tell us what your first thoughts were and how you handled that whole phone call.
Mickey, that simple, huh? Chris Illich called me, and he said, "Hi, Sergei, what's going on?" For 3-4 minutes, we talk about families, how things going, how's Russia, how's Detroit. I had no idea what he's gonna end up with. Eventually, he said, "Your jersey gonna be raising in the rafters," and lost my breath as right now. Thank you very much.
Attaboy.
I'd like to thank Mr. Illich family, Mike and Mary, very dear to me, and I'm getting emotional. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Now, is this the way it was when you didn't let the coaches talk when you were playing?
He didn't
No.
listen. Don't worry about that.
He never talked that much.
You never talked that much?
They
Did
talk
his
to me a
business on
lot.
the ice.
Dave Lewis, you were here. Barry, you came a couple of years later with Scotty. What were your thoughts when number 91 came over here in 1990?
Amazing talent. Would do anything you tell him to do. Would listen, would want to learn, and wanted to fit into the team. Because at that time, Russians weren't fully accepted in the NHL. But we knew that this guy was special, and we wanted to make sure that he understood that and that we handled him the right way at a young age so that he would develop and become the player that now that he is.
Unfortunately, we don't have Fetisov, we don't have Larionov, and we don't have Kozlov here tonight. However, there's one other guy here that we're going to introduce to you right now to go along with Sergei to represent the Russian Five. None other, number 16, Vladimir Konstantinov. Punishing body checks, 172 penalty minutes the first year he played for the Red Wings. Oh boy, was he fun to watch from upstairs.
Mick, I have a Vladdy story for you. When he first came over, English not so good. He'd make a play in the ice. I'd look at him. He'd come to the bench, pat him on the back. Vladdy, great job. Yeah. On the ice, Vladdy, bad play. No understand.
So let's talk a little bit about when you guys put these five together. Was it Bowman's decision in Calgary that night in October?
He was the final decision, but Fetisov was the one that was the pushing body.
But we'd gotten Larionov just moments before that, right?
Well, Nick, I don't know if the fans know, but we talked about this too before the game. The Russians or Soviets played in blocks of 5. Same 2 defensemen, same 3 forwards all the time. So they got to know their tendencies, each other, how they think, how they play. And Scotty came up with the idea, I'm sure. I don't remember us having much conversation with him about it.
Well, because he had played against the Russians numerous times with Team Canada. So he understood their game quite well. But Fetisov was the pushing person to try to have him play. But think about this, Mickey. He talks about block of 5. Igor Larionov is a center. Sergei Fedorov is a center. So in essence, there's no right wing. So there's your right winger right over there, Konstantinov.
So did you guys as coaches, did you even dare tell them how to play the game, or just said, just go and do what you do?
We had this system that Barry brought in, left wing lock, very successful for us. And everybody else had to play that on our team because that's all we practiced. But when the Russian 5 got together, they played a totally independent, different style. It was magical to watch. The most excited people in the buildings were the players on the bench, watching them. They couldn't believe it. They turned around and they go, did you just see that? All of a sudden, Fetisov, who could hardly skate, gets a breakaway. And Larionov is playing defense with Fedorov. I mean, things that you just don't see in the NHL.
The Russian 5 would go out and they'd play, and of course their system was outside of anything we played. And I remember Bowman coming down to me and says, what the hell are they doing? And I said, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's pretty good. So,
Sergei, your thoughts when you guys could put together that night in Calgary, October 27th, 1995. By the way, if you don't know, the Calgary Flames that night got 8 shots on goal. That's it. These guys had the puck all night long. Talk about that night, Sergei, and your memories.
Not much I can remember. But it was so exciting. Scotty called 5 Russian players into the room and says, "You guys play together tonight." We look at each other. Okay, so we left the room. Never talk about the game or strategy or anything like that. But feeling coming out of that decision, out of that room, was so easy to understand what we're going to do next. And after that, it was pretty cool. And we won this game because we knew we can't lose it now if we play together. Because if we lose that game, no Russian 5.
It'll never happen again. We can't thank you guys enough for being a big part of transitioning the iconic Red Wing jersey, for what you did back in those days and left all of us and many millions more with the memories that we'll cherish forever. That's part of the legacy.
Beats Barrett. In front, save is made by Mio. Stepping again, rebound by Ramis. Kutchuk cutting right in on goal. The save made by Osgood.
Camilleri in front, tipped by Robitaille. Rebound, stopped by Legacy. That's Thornton carries. Shoots out of the save.
The goalies of Hockeytown, Jimmy Howard, Greg Steffen. The guy to the right, most goalies end up in gondolas, broadcast booths. I don't know why. It's their perspective of the game. But he did. Chris Osgood, Eddie Meal, Jim Bedard, Tim Chevelday, and the only one to have claimed to live what we talk about tonight, Manny Legacy. Now, there was a reacquisition by Detroit one day. Dominic Hasek came back. Curtis Joseph was already here. Curtis wasn't too happy about that, and that's why Manny Legacy got the nickname Jimmy Buffer, because he sat between those two. Manny, the floor is yours.
One day I'm just sitting there. They wouldn't change together. Like, they would not. One would change it. They did not like each other. There was too many roosters in the hen house. Like, it was, they would not. Like, it was, I would just chuckle because I'd be, Stevie every day. Hey, call me fat ass. He said, hey, fat ass, let's go. Every morning. So I'd get up and I'd be sitting there, but they would not change it. If Dom was in the room stretching, he took up most of the room because his arms and legs were so long. And Cujo would turn around and walk out, wait for him to get dressed, and it was a weird situation, and I'm just like, oh, this is not fun. So one day I come in, and my stall's for now 4 years at the end, and I stop, and I'm looking, and I'm like, it says Cujo. And I'm like, it's Joseph. And I'm like, I'm in the middle now. So I went to Paul Boyer. I'm like, Paul, gave my stall? What's going on? He goes, this came from up top. You are now a buffer zone. And I'm like, so I'm Jimmy Buffer Zone. That's what you're trying to tell me. And they're like, yep. As soon as they came in, and Dom looked at me and goes, you do something wrong? I'm like, nope. Nope, I'm just doing as I'm told. I just do as I'm told. So from that day on, I was Jimmy.
Jim Bedard, you were the goalie coach. How did it go over?
Well, we used to kind of go out early in shifts to make sure that everybody was prepared when they got the call from the coach. But, you know, these guys are, to me, they were just professionals. Once they stepped on the ice, they got down to business, and they're serious about what they do. Obviously, they would never get this far in their careers, but it worked out.
Ozzy, I know you've got 101 Dom stories. Do you have one that stands out you can tell?
I do, in San Jose, which we didn't have much luck ever. And the Henrik Zetterberg and the Swedish players won the Olympics that year, and they were taking a long break. They didn't come back right away. We flew to San Jose. Didn't have a lot of players. Dominic Hasek was playing. And the goalie doesn't sit on the bench in San Jose. You sit in the corner. It's fabulous. You got a couch. You got a chair. It's a great spot. We're getting beat in San Jose, and there's a crack in the glass, and it was 6-0. And the coach at the time was calling the video guys to look for me, but I wasn't quite ready yet. I was hiding behind the glass because I knew I didn't want to go in. Behind the boards, I was ducking. Where's Ozzy? Where's Ozzy? I was ducking. I'm not ready. So Dom skates to the boards and says to me, I'll be seeing you soon. I go, oh, no, you won't, Dom. Oh, no, you won't. The biggest thing I'd say about him is, in practice, you look down and he's that good, it makes you better.
Yeah.
So, and the guy is unbelievable. I called him the Wayne Gretzky of goalies. He was very smart, could do stuff that nobody else could do. So, love playing with him.
And when you get called up to the National Hockey League, it can be an adventure just playing in your first game from being in the American Hockey League. Tim Cheveldae, you had quite the introduction to the NHL coming to Detroit.
Yeah, so very first time I got to Joe Louis Arena, I was playing in Adirondack, and I think Steph hurt his back, and so I got the call from the trainer at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Adirondack's about an hour away from Albany, and it's about an hour trip. That's the closest airport. And by the time I got to the airport, the plane left. So I got on the next plane, it was like about 6:10, so it landed about 7:30 in Detroit, and everybody knows it's about a 30-minute drive from the airport to the arena. And so their original plan, so the game's going on, they're playing as I'm there, and they said they were going to rush me by police to get to the game. But the police chief heard this and said, well, there's a police helicopter station right there. So I got on the helicopter. They flew. Yeah, I know. My heart was just racing. And yeah, helicopter me. It landed on top of Cobo Hall, which is right beside Joe Louis. The trainer met me there. We rushed down to Joe Louis, and I got dressed in between the first and second period of the game. And yeah, quite a way to get introduced.
You had a little bit of a transition there from the Norris family to the Illich family, right?
Yeah, it was down times for Detroit, and it was a real tough situation. And then when the Illich family came in, it was the greatest thing that happened for the Red Wings and myself, because it was a great turnaround. It was a great turnaround, but it took time. It didn't happen right away. And I was talking to you back there, how, you know, Stevie and everybody talks about family, and the Illich, Mr. and Mrs. Illich, they took Stevie and I remember a lot under our wing. We did the baseball tournaments in the summer. They always were looking out for the players, and there was times after games that Mr. and Mrs. Illich would go to Giannopolis with us players, and just it was amazing. And they cared. When you know someone cares that much, it was just a great, and you could just see it building.
Eddie?
Yes.
What do you remember your time here?
Well, like everyone's been talking tonight, Mr. I and Mrs. I got here in '83 from New York, and they hadn't made the playoffs once in 17 years. But that year, as Steph said, he was my partner. We had Stevie, Lane Lambert, Jerry Gallant. It was a whole new team. We ended up making the playoffs both years, 83, 84, 85, 84 and 85. Steph was a great partner. All these guys that are sitting here, remember there was one thing that somebody told me when I got traded and come to Detroit. He says, watch out. And I said, watch out for what? He says, there's two positions in sports in Detroit that is the hardest, and the fans will get on you. And that's a quarterback for the Lions and the goalie for the Red Wings. Right. Back then.
You can be a villain or a hero, and it's a tough place to play goal. So, okay, we got a minute. Let's get one thought. Is that true or false that Detroit is a really tough place to play for a goalie, tougher than others? Go.
I loved it.
Okay.
No place I'd rather play.
Quickly for you.
Yeah, no, it's goaltending is a tough position. It's all about the mentality of it. But my experience has been outstanding. I love it. I made my home here, so.
When you're a goalie here in Detroit, it is hard at times. You can get booed, you can get jeered. Just if the people here can give us a big cheer as we leave the stage and appreciate what all these guys did in their career, it would be awesome.
Times weren't always the best over the years with the Red Wing organization. And Nick, you can speak a little bit about this back in 1968, roughly 69. As I said, you came out of Stratford. Why did you sign with the Hamilton Red Wings? What was behind that?
Well, in my era, obviously there was no draft. And I remember vividly when I was 13, 14 years old, Jimmy Skinner, Donnie Graham, who scouted for Detroit, would come to my house, and I'd be watching television, and my mom and dad would be in the kitchen, and they were factory workers. Donnie Graham and Jimmy offered my mom and dad $200 and a short set of golf clubs to my mother, and they persuaded me to sign with Detroit, and that's how it happened. I mean, back in the day, you just did it, and so things seem to have worked out. But if I maybe had to do over again, I might maybe take a little different route, but not a big turn.
Number 11, Mr. Dandino. You came out of Sherbrooke. What are your thoughts when you got drafted by Detroit?
It was awesome. But I remember my first training camp, and I get to play my first NHL exhibition game. And I'm so happy, I'm so proud. I played the game, I worked hard, and then I get in the dressing room. And all right, I'm happy, I'm gonna head towards the shower, and I'm just walking towards the shower, and all I hear is cling, cling, cling in the gym. And I kind of circle back, look who's in the gym. And it's Steve Yzerman doing some weights after the game. So we talk about the culture. I'm like, okay, if our best player is doing the weight training after the game, maybe I should do the weight training after the game too. So I got in, and I know there was some weird apparatus. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of handling it. And he kind of just gave me the nod, like, it's okay. But that installed in me the culture in Detroit about working hard, and it doesn't matter what talent you have. If you work hard, you'll get through. So, and I got my first game. This was an exhibition game, but now my first NHL game. I'm in the hallway. I'm all nervous, and next thing you know, Mr. Gordie Howe is coming down the hallway, and he's like, "Where's that rookie? Where's that rookie?" "It's me." And he goes, "Give me that stick." And he grabs my stick, and he goes, he spits on my blade, and he goes, "You're going to have a good career."
Down to number 8. Raised in Muskegon, and you were 10 years old, my understanding was, when we won our first cup after 42 years in 1997. were the Red Wings your favorite team? I'm assuming they were.
Of course. Growing up in Michigan, you kidding me, Mick? Come on. Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, to be able to be drafted and play for the Red Wings and growing up in Michigan, it's always special wearing the wing wheel, being original six, but I feel like it carried something a little extra special growing up here, idolizing those guys, and never forget, you know, walking into that dressing room for the first time, and I actually saw D-Mac, and he goes, "Oh, you're a Sparty." I go, "I don't know if this is good or bad." I'm like, better answer is right. "Yeah, I'm a Sparty." He's like, "Oh, great. I love Michigan State." I'm like, "Thank God." And we end up being stallmates, and honestly, for me, it was. I think the big message here too is family, starting with the Illich family, but on down, and that's what it felt like.
John, were you surprised, first of all, to get drafted by Detroit, and secondly, what did it mean for you to play the number of years that you did here for this organization?
It was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's, you know, first of all, getting drafted is exciting. And I'll be honest with you, growing up in 3 hours north of Edmonton, we didn't get a lot of Red Wing games. And the game is just, you know what, once the, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't here when the team started getting better, but, and I was hurt when I got traded. I'd never been traded before. But I look at my career at the end, it was kind of a blessing because, you know, I went to Quebec, we had a good team. First time I ever experienced a dressing room packed with reporters, and, you know, going to the Rangers, you know, won the President's Trophy and all that. And I was fortunate to experience some of it, you know what I'm trying to say. But it was a struggle. There's no, you know, the Ilches know they had to rebuild a team. We were pretty bad, you know, back in those days, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. But you know what? Hey, you know, Betty Ann and myself, we live in Farmington Hills. We love the city. You know, it was great for life after hockey. It's a great sports town. People still remember the name, and, you know, that's one of the reasons why we retired in this area.
It's opening night for the Stanley Cup playoffs here at Olympia Stadium, Detroit.
So Pronables, one of the fastest rushing defensemen in the game. Sends it to Kelly. Kelly turns, fires, and scores. A brilliant save by Sawchuk. Oh, shoots. He scores. He's done it. Number 525. Oh, was Hockey's all-time leading goal scorer. Beats Babando, cuts in. He shoots. He scores. Detroit wins. After 28 minutes of overtime, the Detroit Red Wings win the Stanley Cup.
The ultimate goal of every team is hoisting the Stanley Cup at season's end, and this group here on the stage right now have done it more than most and have no shortage of stories of celebrations. Dan Cleary, Nick Cronwall, Chris Chelios,
Kirk Maltby, nice
Thomas
to meet
Holmstrom, Kirk Maltby. No, what I'm saying is that you two have won it 4 times. 4 times with chirps like that.
Thanks to Joey, Mac, you know, I'm here today.
The grinders. The grinders. So beyond the obligatory birth of a child, is it the best moment winning the Stanley Cup? We'll start with you, Kirk, since you started before I was ready for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you know, growing up in Canada, playing hockey, you know, I've won the Stanley Cup 1,000 times. But to actually do it for real, and with the group of guys that we did it with in an organization in a city like this, it was, you know, a dream come true. And, you know, it's amazing when it happens, and, you know, it's kind of, everything kind of slows down and you absorb everything and you enjoy it, but it goes by so fast too. And, but yeah, no, it's right at the top of the list as a career, as, you know, being a hockey player, you could never top that.
Getting to the ultimate goal of actually standing there at the end of a season with a cup over your head, it means everything. But it's so much more that goes into it with, you know, it's not just the players on the team, it's the trainers, the physios, the fans. It's almost everybody's pulling so hard for the same goal for so long. It's a big grind. At the end of the playoffs, you're almost like in a daze. But just the feeling when you're standing there is just incredible.
But your thoughts on the first time you lifted that 35-pound beautiful trophy, which has been around since 1892, over your head?
Well, I got drafted in '94, and they took me early, 257 overall. So I'm really happy about that. But I got to say that first day at the rink, I meet Darren McCarr and Marty LaPointe, and they ask me, what side do you play at? I'm a left winger. Oh, great, welcome, because they're right wings. And then we step on the ice. So I run Jamie Pusher, and here comes Mac. So helmet flies, gloves flies, stick, upper ball. And then they signed Channy. So he started hunting me out there. I did some bad hits maybe in practice. So he's all pissed at me all the time. So it was a tough start. And, you know, my first year I didn't play that much. Second year I got a chance to play with me, Mac, and then Stevie. What a run we had there against Washington. And then I played also 2.5 years with Luke Herbertai and Igor Larionov. Both me and Luke couldn't skate, but thank God we had Igor.
Yeah. Tell us your maybe one or two favorite of all the places you visited with the Stanley Cup, and what goes into thinking of where you're going to take it.
Well, favorite in Detroit, no question, and the whole Tigers team was with us. Chelly's Chili Bar. We all remember the Chili Bar, right? And we have the memories, everybody. That's what it's all about. And I just remembered standing with all our teammates on the balcony and overlooking the parking lot, spraying everybody with the champagne bottles with the Tigers. And then as far as Hollywood, we did the Malibu thing. Detroit's own Kid Rock put on party after party for us. I think it was at Jefferson Beach Grill, right? That one, we had an unbelievable night that night. Clears, you came to Malibu, and we had everybody from Meathead, from Archie Bunker to Sylvester Stallone showing up throughout the day. So that was really cool, too. I brought it to Chicago. That didn't go over too well. It was horrible. If I had known they were going to win 3 cups, I would have never brought it. But, again, it was really special to bring it home to my grammar school, my high school, Wrigley Field, White Sox Park, and all in the same day, and then ended up with a Eddie Vedder Pearl Jam concert. So that was a really special day, too.
It's like a magnet, that thing. That Stanley Cup just attracts people, and just try to let as many people see it as they could, get pictures, you know, possibly drink out of it, do some charity work, you know, back home in Canada, then also here in Michigan, and then try to end it with, you know, a good, you know, family and friends party. And just real quick on Danny Cleary was, I just remember when we lost, no, not bad, Danny. No, it was just Game 5 where we lost that game on the penalty in overtime, you know, and, you know, we could have clinched it at home and this and that, we didn't. And then we're in Pittsburgh, we're going for dinner. It was like Drapes and myself and Dan. I can't remember everyone that was there, but And he was beside himself. And we're like, we wanted to cut his steak for him because we wanted to keep all sharp objects away from him, you know. We're like, Danny, we're going to be good. And that was kind of the experience from, you know, fortunately winning before. And, you know, obviously, fortunately, we won, you know, in Pittsburgh that year.
I remember that, Maltz, very specifically. You know, I used to go for dinner every night with Drapes, Maltz. We had a whole small crew. And, you know, he's right. These guys won 3 before, and it was so calming to have these people around me to be able to, you know, just to calm you down a little bit. Of course, you wanted it so badly to win. And I remember Dre specifically saying, don't worry, we're going to win. And that really gave me such confidence and belief. And, man, I'll never forget that. It was just an incredible feeling.
Konstantinov came in hard on Forsberg. Lidstrom to McCarty. Here is Larionov. Avalanche holding the Red Wings in their own zone. Larionov and Forsberg away from the play. Peter Forsberg took a swipe at Igor Larionov. And it is an off-end that we see Igor Larionov go, but he did. And now Darren McCarty gets his shots in at Claude Lemieux. And look who came all the way out to try to help, Patrick Waugh. Oh my goodness. You never know when to expect it, Darren McCarty said before. Vernon and Waugh. Mike Vernon with a great left, follows up with the right. How about this? Lemieux was hammered by Darren McCarty, and he is being helped into the locker room. Two of the best of all time. Known for the use of the pillows. Vernon and Waugh square off. They are on their feet here at Joe Louis Arena. 301 days since the hit on Chris Draper. And look at Darren McCarty. Patrick Waugh bloodied up. Peter Forsberg bloodied up, and Lemieux in the locker room. Darren McCarty said hockey players have long memories, and the best time to seek, if you will, revenge, to seek redemption is maybe when your opponent least expects it.
Have you not had enough of that already?
Cheney's comfortable. He's crossing his legs now.
These guys don't need any introduction. The one thing I kept wondering, though, when I'm watching that film, where were you, Nick?
Well,
I didn't see you.
But where we were supposed to be, you weren't supposed to see him. We did our job. He was safe. He was safe.
I was safe, yes.
Let's start with that.
You
were on the ice.
I was on the ice.
What happened once it all broke out?
I was going back for the puck, and I chipped it out. And I think just as I was going back for it, that's when Forsberg grabbed Igor, and everything started. So I chipped it out, and I turned, and we're all going towards, where Igor and Forsberg are laying down, wrestling, and I ended up with Valery Kamensky, another European. So we're not big fighters. And these guys usually took care of me when there was when there's fights going on. So I ended up with him.
And the flying missile, Mr. Shanahan, can flying through the air.
Thank God.
What triggered that moment for you? What did you see that said, I gotta go?
Well, before I answer that, I'm going to break the story that I haven't said, we haven't admitted in a long time about how it started. The shift before, Igor was our centerman, and he looked at Mac and I and he said, "I'm tired of waiting for you chicken shits to do something. I'm gonna do something crazy here. You guys can do whatever you want." No, Mac has said it a million times, and it's true. Like we reacted. We didn't talk about it. We had nothing planned. For me, it seemed to all be happening slowly. So I'm really surprised now when I actually see it play out in real time, how quickly Wah was on his way, and somehow I was with Foot, and then I saw what Mac was doing, and then I saw Wah on his way, and you know, Scotty would have been proud of me because I really moved my feet. I think that's what ruined it for me with Scotty, was he saw how quick I could be when I wanted to be. Getting in the back check, not so quick. Getting into a fight, very quick. I saw Juan on his way, and I just knew where he was going, and I just really wanted to get there before he got to Darren.
I honestly had no idea what was going on behind me because I was so focused in on what I needed to do, which was payback. I mean, you remember this. Well, you remember this, Mick. You saw it all, didn't you?
I did. I was in the stairwell. I was actually in the stairwell with 99 steps at the Joe, going down to do an interview when the brawl broke out. Ended up calling part of it off a monitor in the dressing room. Oh, yeah.
Which part did you get to?
Oh, the last end, but when you were kicking some ass. You know you should have been thrown out of that game.
Mick, I mean, I can only do what I do, and you know what? I got 4 minutes for roughing and a 10-minute misconduct.
I didn't even get a penalty.
And when
it was the best. I went to the penalty box, and they said, "Go back." And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be like that. Okay, I like this place."
And what a lot of people may not know, it depends how old you are, or whether you watched any films, he doesn't get thrown out of the game. He gets a double minor. Comes back, we tie the game up at 5-5, and who scores the winning goal in overtime? Number 25. You mentioned a little bit about the two teams. Brendan, talk about the rosters on both of those teams. I don't know there's ever been two better teams to go head-to-head for at the time that you guys did with Colorado.
No, I don't think that's going to be repeated again. That amount of skill, the animosity, the anger, the viciousness, and then how much the games meant. You know, there have been lots of great rivalries, but so many of our games in playoff series against that team meant this team's going to go win this. The survivor's going to go win the Stanley Cup. So we respected them, but we really didn't like them. And I remember, I'll tell a story. We were at one of those Team Canada camps right before the '98 Olympic season, and Steve and I were like sitting in a cafeteria with all of our teammates that were trying out for Team Canada, and Patty Waugh came and sat down next to us. And he was an outgoing guy, very personable, and he kind of like looked at us and wanted to talk about the fight. And he looked at me and he said, "You know, when we jumped in the air and you hit me," and he says, "I landed, I hurt my shoulder, and it's never been the same." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry, man." And then he got up and he left, and Steve Yzerman elbowed me and he goes, "You're not sorry at all." And I said, "No, I'm not sorry at all."
Not a chance.
He made my day.
This is for all of you where you're wondering, when I actually hit Claude Lemieux, what I was thinking. And the irony is, as we all know, I'm a lefty, right? I'm a lefty, except when? In the most important moment, in my opinion, in Red Wing history. And when I hit him, right, everybody felt it the same way as when I scored that goal. At the end of that game, when Shanny, Vladdy, Nick, and we embraced behind the net, you know what the feeling was, right? The feeling was, oh my God, this is it. What everybody's been talking about here. We weren't the toughest, but we were team tough. And at that moment, everybody in Wing Wheel Nation, it was our time.
So the winning goal in overtime. The last piece to the puzzle, number 14, the Irishman, in October of '96, and 7 Norris trophies. The memories go on and on. Thank you, guys.